Welcome, everybody, to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. It's the ACC on ESPN. Today from Greensboro, North Carolina, second-round action of the ACC tournament. The Maryland Terrapins take on the Florida State Seminoles in the first of 4 second-round games here today. The tournament began yesterday. The bottom 6 teams in the regular season standings played each other. The winners were Wake Forest, Miami, and Georgia Tech. So today, seeds 5 through 9 see their first action, and the top 4 seeds in this ACC tournament will begin play tomorrow in the quarterfinals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Sean McDonough along with Jay Billis. Delighted to have you with us. This is a very important game for both teams, still with the hopes to make the NCAA tournament, particularly Florida State at 18-12 overall, right on the bubble. Right now, Joe Lunardi has them one of the first 4 teams out of the tournament. Jay, when we talked to their coach, Leonard Hamilton, last night, we asked him, have you talked to your team about what you need to do? He said, yeah. I told him, we need to win this game today.
Yeah, I said, I know one thing, we can't lose.
That's right.
And that's true of a lot of teams. But Florida State, anytime you think about the Seminoles, you think about their size and their athleticism. They're a team that's very good in transition, but boy, are they big. And they're led by a couple of guards. Ian Miller, an outstanding guard, especially in transition and off ball screens. And those big bodies don't just set a ball screen once, they set it twice. And if you're not stepping up to help out, he is going to rise up into a jump shot. He is an excellent scorer. He can not only shoot it, he can get to the basket as well. He has been playing very well since he came off that ankle injury, and Aaron Thomas is one of the most improved players. You have to play him as a driver. If you don't play him as a driver, he's going to be a dunker. He can get to the basket, but he's also an outstanding defender. I think their best perimeter defender. He's going to have his hands full with Maryland because they've got some very good guards as well.
They do indeed, and these 2 teams met twice in the regular season, each winning on its home court. And Leonard Hamilton says a lot of problems when you try to match up against Maryland, but particularly dealing with those guards.
Yeah, and Seth Allen, a guy who missed the first 12 games of the season with an injury, when he came back, Maryland had to learn to play with him at the point guard position. A left-hander that can score, and he's got very good vision as a passer. You try to trap him off a ball screen, he's going to make a good decision most of the time. But primarily what Seth Allen is a scorer. He had 32 points in the second ball game against Florida State after the length of the Seminoles bothered him in the first one. And he is absolutely a scoring point guard that looks to score first. Des Wells has had a terrific season. He's the leading scorer, leads them in steals, does a terrific job as an elite transition finisher, and has put the ball on the deck and gotten to the basket. He can make enough jump shots to keep you honest and to set up his driving game. But I think he's got to have a good game for Maryland if they want to win this one.
With an eye toward the NCAA tournament, this really is an elimination game for the loser. Florida State and Maryland in just a moment, but now back to the studio. Here's John Saunders.
Thanks a lot, Sean, alongside Jay Williams and Digger Phelps. We're getting ready to start. Long day for you guys, but well worth it as we start off here in the ACC. Florida State against Maryland. Size of Florida State, guard play of Maryland is probably one of the keys.
Yeah, I think Florida State always has that physical size, length, and they just want to beat you up and get their transition game going. But it'll be a challenge, I think, for Aaron Thomas, the guard, Des Wells, who is the guy who's made Maryland who they are today. That'll be the tough matchup because if Florida State shuts him down, then Maryland's going to have issues trying to score.
You know, Maryland in the first matchup had about 15 turnovers, and I think Florida State was able to exploit that. They blew them out at Florida State. But then when they came back at Maryland, you heard Jay Billis talk about them adapting to having Seth Allen back. Right. He had 32 points, and when he's on top of his game, him and Nick Faust and Des Wells, they're special. But you talk about guys down low, Evan Smottridge, Jake Lehman from Maryland, they have their hands full with Okoro White from Florida State.
When you look at this game, the winner goes on to face Virginia, the number 1 seed in the ACC. So it's going to be tough to get past this game. The next one could be even tougher. The Patriot League, as we had another ticket punch, BU against American. Digger?
Well, I think American came into this 16-16. Yeah, it said 16, said they had to win the conference tournament to get the bid. BU's done. They're getting no at-larges.
Darius Gardner lays that one in. Makes it 44-32.
Storm that floor.
And they win for American.
Wow.
They go on a roll right now to get the Patriot League ticket to the tournament as we continue to see them going on today. The American East and Conference USA up next. And we're just getting things started here in the ACC. What to watch for today? Well, Kansas against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State beat Texas Tech as they came off the first game where they lost Marcus Smart, got him back. And then he played extremely well in beating Texas Tech to get them onto this game. But, guys, when you look at the Kansas Jayhawks playing without Joel Embiid, where are they going to get the rebounding from?
This is where, okay, maybe Andrew Wiggins had 41 points in that loss at West Virginia, but he's got to think about rebounding. But the X factor to me on that team, Perry Ellis is the go-to guy. He can get a double-double. Oklahoma State's not a large team, but he finds a way to find loose ball rebounds, get it back out, or in transition points, he knows where to go, how to get it going from himself, as well as offensive rebounding on missed shots. If he becomes a double-double guy today, then Kansas will survive. Otherwise, your guy Marcus Smart is going to take this game over.
Great segue into the guard position. Nadir Tharp and company for Kansas have their hands full with Marcus Smart, Markel Brown, and Phil Forte. Those three combined for 52 of their 80 points they're able to score against Texas Tech. And you talk about 6 steals for Marcus Smart, so good at playing low to the ground defensively, and then getting people involved. Ball pressure once again. Markel Brown, one of the best finishers in the game of college basketball, also great mid-range game. And then Phil Forte, when Marcus Smart is able to penetrate or post up, he's shooting 45% from the three-point line this season. So that 3-guard rotation for them is very, very dangerous, and how Kansas is able to defend them is going to be critical in this ball game.
Is Kansas a #1 seed without Joel Embiid?
No. No, and what's going to happen is, to me...
If they win the Big 12 tournament, they will be a #1 seed.
If they win the Big 12 tournament, I think they're going to have issues today against Oklahoma State. Because Oklahoma State beat them, and they know that how to beat them. They don't have the size to beat them up inside. And the 3-guard offense is going to be tough for Kansas to defend. This is where, to me, it's Mr. Marcus Smart pulling off this upset today.
So you're taking Oklahoma State?
Yes.
We're on the same page.
You got it.
I'm taking Oklahoma State, too.
Which means they don't become a 1 seed. Hello.
But in answer to the question, what do you feel that Kansas has to win the Big 12 tournament to get a #1 seed?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, that's saying something for a team that's been near the top all season long. We, of course, will see at halftime. Right now, let's get back to Sean.
All right, John, thank you, and welcome back, everybody, to the Greensboro Coliseum for the 61st ACC tournament and the final ACC tournament for the Maryland Terrapins, a charter member of the league dating back to 1953, moving on to the Big Ten next year. So if they don't beat Florida State today, it'll be their last game in ACC play. Florida State is 18-12 overall, 9-9. They had an identical conference record with Maryland and NC State. The Seminoles, the #9 seed. Aaron Thomas, Ian Miller, Monte Brandon, who's from this area, Greensboro, with Okaro White, who's been terrific down the stretch, and big Michael Ojo. The starting lineup for Leonard Hamilton. Maryland 17-14 overall, 9-9. The lineups are brought to you by T. Rowe Price. That outstanding backcourt that Jay just talked about, Seth Allen and Des Wells with Nick Faust, Charles Mitchell, and Shaquille Clear. Clear's in the starting lineup for Evan Smottridge, who's a key player for Mark Turgeon, but Smottridge the last few days bothered by back spasms. They hope he can go today, but they're not sure. 3rd season for Mark Turgeon, and they come into this tournament off his biggest win as head coach at Maryland, the regular season finale, the home win against Virginia, the regular season champs. And Leonard Hamilton is in his 12th season at Florida State. And they won this event back in 2012, the first ACC basketball championship in Florida State history. Carl Hess will throw the ball in the air. Ray Steins and Roger Ayers, the other officials. Maryland dressed in white, the Seminoles in black, and Okaro White controlled the tip for the Noles.
And a lot of big bodies out on the court for Florida State. And you can expect Florida State to go into some ball screen action. Make those big guys for Maryland guard some different screening action.
And a first possession turnover for Florida State as they tried to pass it into the post.
Yeah, immediately they tried to post Aaron Thomas, get him against Seth Allen in the post.
It was interesting talking to both coaches before the game, Jay. They're both concerned about how they match up against the other.
Well, Maryland can pull you away from the basket. A little bit more difficult without Evan Smotrich or Jake Lehman in the ball game to be able to spread the floor and pull those big guys away. And the size of Florida State can bother this Maryland team at every position, especially the guard spots, because the guards of Florida State are big and have length.
Shot clock running out, and a takeaway as Aaron Thomas got his hands on the pass. And the Seminoles will set up their offense. They had won 3 in a row until they lost
their regular season finale at home in Tallahassee to Syracuse. Syracuse looked a lot better when they got Jeremy Grant back in their lineup against the Noles. Both coaches feel like they're playing well down the stretch coming into Greensboro. Neither team has scored yet in more than a minute.
Well, there you can see the length of Florida State bothering Seth Allen as he tries to go to the basket. And Ian Miller, when he gets hot early, he can put up big numbers.
Sixth man of the year in the ACC is voted by the coaches. Ian Miller, senior from Charlotte, who's been on fire from beyond the arc. The last 7 games coming in, he had shot 50% from three-point range, 21 out of 42.
You remember the great start he got off to against North Carolina, where he was hitting absolutely everything.
Seth Allen. Offensive rebound by Wells, but then he fell down. So Maryland scoreless 2 minutes in. Somehow that pass got through. And the foul's on Charles Mitchell, but that probably saved the dunk by Florida State.
You have got to pick up Ian Miller in transition or he will pull up. His range is anywhere inside a half court. See, holding that follow through. When he sees the ball go through the net, he's going to become even more aggressive looking for his shot. And he has shot very well in ACC play, 45% from 3 in ACC games.
40% for the year. Only Andre Dawkins and Rodney Hood of Duke more accurate from beyond the arc among ACC players. Florida State gives it back over. Fouls on Okaro White, the 6'9" senior from Clearwater, Florida. He's the guy the Maryland coaches were worried about how they'll match up against.
Well, he's been so hot over his last 4 games. He's averaging 21 and shooting over 60%. And they've been looking to go to him early. He's tried to be aggressive. He faced up and took a little bit of a questionable shot a couple possessions ago.
Jake Lehman's in off the bench for Maryland. Shaq Clear thought he might have been fouled. No whistle. And there's a foul at the other end as Florida State went on the fast break. Seth Allen called for the foul. First foul on the Maryland guard.
Yeah, with Florida State, you have to get back in transition. It's one thing to say, hey, you have to sprint back. But one of the ways you stop Florida State, or at least slow their transition, is by taking good shots. You've got to run good offense against Florida State. Your offense has to help your defense. Otherwise, you'll put yourself in scramble situations, and they'll get easy baskets going the other way.
Aaron Thomas, 84.5% from the free throw line. 5th best in the ACC, made 1 out of 2.
He has really improved from last year to this. Aaron Thomas is now becoming an elite player in the ACC and plays on both ends.
As Wells. And Maryland's on the board nearly 3 minutes in. Wells' 3rd team all ACC this year. He's their leading scorer, just under 15 a game. And the runner drops for Monte Brandon.
Monte Brandon is a driver. And there was a little miscommunication on the part of Maryland. They thought they were going to switch, then tried to recover, and they allowed him to turn the corner. And you've got to make him into a jump shooter.
Wells step back 3. Of course, Bojanowski, who's in off the Florida State bench, started that fast break. And Ian Miller fouled, and he'll shoot a pair.
There's Des Wells working off a screen, gets his man to go under. That was Monte Brandon. Then he does a nice job fading out to the corner. And there's the miscommunication. Thought early on that John Graham was going to step out there and switch, and Jake Lehman let him get his shoulders past, and that's going to be a basket.
Ian Miller makes the first. I mentioned the 2 teams split the regular season meetings, and Miller did not play in the Florida State loss at Maryland, but as you see, he was outstanding in the Noles win in Tallahassee against the Terrapins. He made a career high 6 threes, and Leonard Hamilton said, we just shot the lights out that night. Florida State made 16 threes in their home win against Maryland, and that's the most that Seminoles have ever made in an ACC game. Nick Faust Tough runner. Lehman tried to keep it alive, but could not. Bojanowski again off to Miller.
And Florida State gets the ball up court quickly. That wasn't the quickest advance they've had, but they have been sprinting up the court. And if Maryland wants to get a better shot, they're going to have to move the ball from one side of the floor to the other. They're getting it to one side and then attacking against a set defense, and that's not going to get you anything.
Miller, Bojanowski, another rebound, and then Lehman did a nice job to deflect it away from Okaro White. And it'll be Maryland's ball after the media timeout.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And Mazda. Conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
Been a very emotional week for the Maryland basketball program. First, the dramatic win over the weekend against Virginia, their biggest win of the year, their final ACC home game. And then came very sad news on Tuesday that they had lost a very important member of their program, Zach Lederer, former manager for the Maryland Terrapins. Courageous long-time battle against brain cancer, and he succumbed Tuesday at age 20, first diagnosed back when he was 11 years old. And that photo captured the hearts of people all over the country. Struck the muscle pose that became known as Zacking after that picture went viral. Social media vigil held the other night, Tuesday night at the Comcast Center. Seth Allen among the Terrapins in attendance, and he is remembering Zach Lederer on his sneakers today. Mark Turgeon wrote Zach's name on the board in their locker room where he had the scouting information posted for his team. He said he didn't want to give his team, it would be too trivial to say go out and win one for Zach, but Zach's very much a part of their motivation here this week. And they have a lot of reasons to try to win, but our condolences to his family. By all accounts, just a wonderful guy
and an important part of the Maryland team.
And Scott Spinelli, one of the assistants, told me this morning he was as tough as anybody I've ever met. The way he battled it, always with a great attitude. And Scott was quite emotional when he was talking with Zach on the court here before the game. What a terrific job Scott's done. Does a lot of the scouting. Been with Mark Turgeon for a while, back to Texas A&M, where they combined to help lead the A&M basketball program to some better days, hoping to have similar success here in Maryland. Terrific recruiting class coming in next year.
Well, they've made some positive steps forward, and I think the world of Mark Turgeon as a coach. I think he's an outstanding coach, really good guy. Played against him in college. That's how old he is. Nice move by Des Wells.
I thought he was a much younger man than that. Mark Turgeon was a fine guard at Kansas. He's 49 years old. That gives us a rough idea of how old you are.
Well, I was very young when I got to college. That was one of those Doogie Howser types.
Are you ever planning on maturing? I guess that would be the next question. Bojanowski, 7'3", and he knocks it in. He has some skills. Leonard Hamilton was actually very funny talking to us last night about the problem that Boris has from time to time. He's so thin that when he plays against some wide bodies in this league, they just bang him around all over the place, and Boris really gets beat up.
Well, he doesn't have a wide base, so he gets pushed off the lane, and oftentimes when he should be going to the basket, he winds up with a fadeaway. And he had to fade away for that shot. He made it because of that skill you're talking about. But as he gets older, he's going to have to, he's going to have to eat a lot more. He's going to have to, he's eating 5,000 calories a day, which I do and do just fine.
You drink 5,000 calories a day. Not quite the same results. Nice pass by Faust, and there's Bojanowski, who's an excellent shot blocker to reject Shaquille Clear. And then a Maryland foul on the way back up the floor. It is Clear, a sophomore out of the Bahamas.
Bojanowski a little bit earlier in the ball game got the ball right underneath the basket and passed it away, passed it out. And as he matures in the game, see, Clear should have gone to the other side of the rim here to protect the ball from the shot blocker. That can be difficult when you've got a guy 7'3" who's long-armed and blocks a couple shots per game. It's easy to say, but hard to do.
As you saw on the graphic, he's among the block shot leaders in the ACC, despite the fact he plays only 20 minutes a game. They have many big bodies in this Florida State program due to injuries from time to time. They haven't been as deep in the backcourt, and Leonard Hamilton said he has to manage minutes more than he has in the past. Wow, tough shot by Ian Miller, twisting three with 12 seconds on the shot clock. And then a foul in the backcourt. Robert Gilchrist, the senior in off the Knowles bench, he's from London, England, committed his first foul.
I think you're very kind. Tough shot.
Yeah, awful shot was probably a more accurate description. It's early in the day, Jay. We're
the charitable Sean McDonough.
Yes, we work our way into bitterness and anger. Lehman from Rentham, Massachusetts.
Leonard Hamilton had just told his team Jake Lehman is a shooter, and Lehman with a nice shot fake to open up that drive.
Faust rescues it, almost threw it off the scoreboard that hangs down over center court,
and almost got Des Wells a foul. Just throwing that thing up for grabs was not a smart play by Wells. Good shot fake, and there's no way that your 7'3" center should be leaving the floor before the offensive player does. And you certainly don't want to fly by there.
And Leonard Hamilton was saying Lehman and Evan Smotrich, if he plays today, at 6'8", 6'9", with their ability both to hit the three and drive like that, they're a very tough matchup.
Yeah, because they can spread you out. And all of a sudden your big guys are away from the basket. And Maryland has been switching up defenses, went to that 1-2-1-1 just to make some difficulty for Florida State in advancing the ball and slow them down a little bit.
Carl Hess, the whistle for foul away from the ball. Roddy Peters, the freshman guard who's just come into the game for Maryland, out of District Heights, Maryland, highly recruited player. ESPN had him rated the number 8 point guard in the country coming out of high school basketball this year, despite the fact he missed a lot of last year in high school with shoulder trouble, playing about 15 minutes a game. He was the starter earlier in the year when they were without Seth Allen for the first 12 games of the year with a fractured foot.
Blocked by Jake Lehman. They went with a little set off the inbounds, a flex cut, then a screen for the screener action to isolate him and then isolate White in the low post.
Monte Dodd fouled. He'll shoot a couple for Maryland, try to get them within a point. The Big Ten tournament gets underway today in Indianapolis with first-round action. Our ESPN coverage is tonight on ESPN2 with games at 6:30 and 8:30. And to me, one of the great stories of the year has been Nebraska. First year in that beautiful new arena in Lincoln, the number 4 seed and poised to go back to the NCAA tournament.
And they've had a really good year. Tim Miles, who came from Colorado State, did a great job there in the Mountain West. And listen, I never argue with Joey Brackets. But the
You
idea
argue with everybody.
The idea that they're one of the last 4 in right now, when Iowa is firmly in, and some of these other teams, Ohio State is firmly in, and they finish 4th in that league, they have to be firmly in the NCAA tournament. Otherwise, they're not going to get to 68.
Great win for Nebraska to close out the regular season at home against Wisconsin. What a great scene. The fans on their feet the entire game. Bojanowski. You know, that's kind of an example of what Leonard was talking about. A lot of times when he turns to shoot, he gets bodied away from the basket by a bigger body, in that case Dodd, but he was still able to shoot accurately and give Florida State a 5-point lead.
Well, he wound up getting that low post position. That's what you can't allow him, because the closer he is to the basket, the better player he is. But that was a left-handed jump hook he just hit. That was nice.
Tough luck for the Noles as the 3 popped out from Aaron Thomas. Devin Booker on the floor for Florida State, number 1, a guard. And they stepped on the baseline, did Aaron Thomas, as he went driving toward the bucket.
How about the 7'3" guy? Boris Bojanowski is balling. A lot of alliteration from anxious analysts.
We're back at the Greensboro Coliseum. Second round action of the ACC tournament, a big part of championship week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Florida State leading Maryland, the 9 seed over the 8 seed by 5 points right now. Maryland and Virginia classic on Sunday. Malcolm Brogdon, the intentional miss at the end of regulation with his team down by 2. It went off Maryland and out of bounds, and Virginia textbook execution of the inbounding play. Anthony Gill ties it at 64. You would think Maryland would have been crushed, but emotionally and physically they responded. Seth Allen outstanding all day, particularly in the overtime. The layup and a 75-69 Maryland win. Mark Turgeon said it's been such a tough year in terms of losing a lot of close games. 11 of their 14 losses by single digits. They needed that, they got it, and he thinks it's a very nice springboard into this tournament.
And in one way, because of all those difficult losses they've had, Mark Turgeon decided to foul when up 3 at the end of that game against Virginia, which he hardly ever, he says never, but he hardly ever does. And it wound up in that one instance backfiring a little bit, but I thought it was funny when he was telling us that he said, really, I was worried about them hitting a 3 at the end there. And
Yes.
That's ultimately probably why they were able to get that lob, is because they were so concerned about the 3. Florida State going with the zone, the 1-2-2.
Seth Allen makes a 3.
That always kills a coach. You go to a zone, they hit a 3 on you. We'll see if Leonard Hamilton sticks with it. A lot of coaches will get out of it after somebody drills a 3.
Seth Allen at 5 points in that overtime against Virginia to help propel them to their biggest win of the year.
As Wells having to guard a Carl White down low. White really trying to post him up, and Wells just has to get around in front. It's right in front of him.
Whoa. High dribble, and then Ian Miller lost it with 4 seconds on the shot clock.
Even Seth Allen, you've got to make him put the ball on the floor. When you've got the kind of length that Florida State has, you want to make Seth Allen a 2-point shooter oversized. Make him make the tough shots. When he can just step into a catch and shoot jumper from the perimeter, that's where he can really hurt you.
Timeout called by Leonard Hamilton. Allen with those 20 points against Virginia, part of a nice finish to the regular season. Take a look at Florida State's basketball power index heading into this ACC tournament. It's brought to you by Audi. And what jumps out at you as we examine the numbers?
Well, Florida State's right on the cusp. All of these numbers, whether it's the RPI of 54 or the BPI that ESPN's analytics guys came up with, and our analytics guys are incredible. Gigantic brains. But they do have quality wins. The win over VCU, the UMass win was a good win. They beat Pittsburgh. They don't have a ton of great wins, but they've got a lot of solid ones. And they're 3-8 against the top 50 in the RPI. You know, that's going to, you compare them against Pittsburgh, who's got, they're 1-7, and you wonder why. Well, how come they're down so far? Well, Pittsburgh wasn't blown out as many times with double-digit losses. I shouldn't say blown out, but had double-digit losses. And those things count in the BPI, and I think they give you a really accurate measure.
Peters missed a runner, kept alive nicely by Dodd, and Faust missed an open 3. And the board to Ian Miller.
Now, the play that Dodd just made is what you would call a winning play.
3-point field goal out of the corner for Devin Bookert. Averages 8 points per game. He's a very, very good 3-point shooter. Matter of fact, he was 5 for 8 beyond the arc in the 2 games in the regular season against Maryland. Wells hit the deck, and Okaro White called for his second foul.
In fact, Bookert is shooting 48% from 3 in ACC games. He takes good shots. And after praising Maryland, and especially Dodd, for keeping that ball alive where they got a 3 out of it, Maryland gave up a 3. And that's part of transition defense, is you've got to get back and identify and find shooters and communicate.
Allen to Wells out there with Dodd, Lehman, and Faust for Mark Turgeon. Nice. Allen off to Dodd, who missed the dunk.
Well, that was a nice job by Aaron Thomas to challenge that. He forced the miss. Really nice dish to draw 3 defenders, but Thomas did not give up on the play, and he got all ball there. And that's why Dodd missed that shot, because he went after that block. And one thing that, Sean, you notice with Des Wells, when they're running some of their actions, Wells has to wait for the screen. He is running right past the screener and not giving himself a chance to get open, and the screener a chance to pick off his man.
Bojanowski got it back. Looked like it was going to be a turnover. He stuck with it, and even with the big bodies all around him, Boris Bojanowski scores. He's had a very nice first 10 minutes plus, 6 points and 5 rebounds for the sophomore.
When you play Boris Bojanowski, because of his size, and he's obviously tall, long, skilled, but you've got to play him before he gets the ball. You can't play him afterwards. And if you meet him early, you should be able to push him off the low block to where he can't get that deep post position. If he's 5 or 6 feet away and you're physical with him, that's going to be a lot more difficult of a finish for him.
Meanwhile, Aaron Thomas called for his second foul for Florida State.
It's 1-3-1 right now for Florida State.
And Wells is wide open. Faust came flying in to keep it alive for Lehman. Good ball movement by the Terps. Leads to a 3 for Seth Allen.
What a nice kick out. Anytime you can get that ball into the paint, collapse the defense, and then kick it out, you're going to get a much better shot. And Maryland has been much more patient on the offensive end to make Florida State guard them. Another miscommunication on a switch.
And blocking foul the call, and that's huge because Aaron Thomas would have picked up his 3rd if that went the other way. Instead, he'll go to the free throw line as Des Wells is called for the personal.
All that, Sean, came from a miscommunication a little bit earlier on a switch. Des Wells and Jake Lehman did not communicate, and all of a sudden they're in scramble mode, and they give up a bucket and a foul as a result of it.
And Wells was just kind of fading and getting out of the way. Not a lot of contact, but it's the second foul on Wells. And Aaron Thomas back to the free throw line.
Thomas, who's an excellent perimeter defender, is on Seth Allen. So he can stay in front of him. He plays low, he's athletic, but he's also long-armed, so he can bother Allen.
Seth Allen for 3 more.
That's good use of the ball screen. Bojanowski actually got in the way rather than just trying to be a bother to the ball handler.
Terps thought Bojanowski traveled when he passed out of the post. He tipped it off to Brandon, who couldn't handle it, and then Maryland is out of bounds along the near sideline. 7:57 to go to the first half of this ACC tournament game in Greensboro.
Back with the March Mayhem update brought to you by Allstate. Seton Hall facing Villanova. And guess what? Nova struggling. Teague throws that down. And they jump to a 24-13 lead at that point. Jay and Dick, what's going on with Villanova?
Well, Villanova's not scoring. They're shooting under 28%, but Seton Hall got these runs going early, and they doubled the score. This is why you see this blowout. And, of course, the Hoosiers falling behind against Illinois, Jay Well.
Sean and Jay, back to you.
All right, John, thank you. Maryland with 16 points. Des Wells on the bench right now. He has 5. Seth Allen has 9. The only other bucket for Maryland on a dunk by Jake Lehman, but they're within 3 of Florida State. Bookert wouldn't go, nor would the putback. And then a foul on the rebounding action against Robert Gilchrist of Florida State.
Well, the size of Florida State has really taken a toll on Maryland around the basket. They've made everything difficult for finishes and shooting over them. And really the only open shots that Maryland has gotten is by driving it, kicking it out, and then Seth Allen's hit 3 threes.
Gilchrist goes to the bench with 2 fouls. That foul puts Florida State over the limit. And Maryland will be shooting the rest of the half. And the front end of the 1-and-1 wouldn't drop for Roddy Peters. First appearance in the game for Jarquez Smith, and as he touches the ball, he's fouled. First foul on Jake Lehman. And that puts the Terrapins over the limit, so we'll see a lot of foul shots for the remaining 7.5 minutes of the first half.
Really, Maryland's done a good job to stay within one possession to this point in the game because they have not shot the ball particularly well. They've hit 4 threes. Wells has hit 1 and Allen's hit 3. They've not been able to get a whole lot inside.
1 out of 2 for the product of Haddock, Georgia. Is that how you say it? Sounds fishy.
Sounds great to me.
Oh, why?
Can't get that one back.
No, and the crowd really groaned, and I deserved every minute of that. Jake Lehman, 3, popped out, then it hit the backboard and went through. And Maryland is within a point. It's 7:10 to go in the first half, second round. ACC tournament action, first of 4 games here today. Wake Forest and Pittsburgh coming up next. The number 5 seed Panthers playing their first ever ACC tournament game. Chance for the lead now for Maryland, but it's fumbled away. Tough handoff, and Lehman couldn't control it.
Have to pick that up. You can't dribble it up, but a terrific drive middle by Nick Faust, and that opened up that step-in jumper for Jake Lehman. And when Maryland moves the ball from one side of the floor to the other, gets a reversal, makes the defense move, and then attacks it, the Terps are that much better offensively. And that doesn't mean you don't want to be aggressive. It means you're patient. You're aggressively looking for the shot that you want, not the shot that Florida State wants you to take.
Devin Boogert out of Anchorage, Alaska. First player from that state to play basketball at Florida State. Missed another 3. Charles Mitchell the rebound.
Boy, what a blockout. It's like an eclipse.
Foul on the drive before the shot. It's on Devin Boogert, his second.
Watch Charles Mitchell here with Jarquez Smith. He just blocks him right into the second row. That's a textbook blockout.
So a chance now for Maryland to take its first lead of the game. Faust, the first made free throw by Maryland. They were 0 for 3 before Faust connected.
You might be able to quarrel with a couple of things that Maryland has done defensively to say, hey, you can't let Bojanowski get that low post position. You got to do a better job communicating on ball screens. They've made some defensive mistakes, but one thing they've done, they've played really hard, and they've been alert to the ball.
Plenty of Maryland fans here, and they're starting to make some noise now as the Terrapins don't want to see their time in the ACC end today. Last ACC tournament for Maryland, they've won this title 3 times. Most recently 10 years ago. They went on to win the national championship as well with Gary Williams. Seth Allen makes it a 3-point lead.
Boy, what a terrific job by Maryland defensively. John Graham did a great job guarding the ball screen. Jake Lehman came down and covered up for him so he could recover. That was excellent by Maryland.
7 unanswered points for the Terps.
One thing Maryland does, they hang in there. They've had a tough year. They've had some things that didn't go their way, and they have hung in there.
Count the bucket. Acrobatic score by Ian Miller. Great body control in the air, and he was fouled and will have a chance to tie it as John Graham was called for the foul.
Ian Miller just attacks. He attacks when he comes across half court looking for his shot. And he just knows how to put the ball in the basket. Talk about attacking. That's when you don't stop the ball, when you don't corral a guy like Seth Allen, he's going to take it all the way. Bojanowski needed to be a little bit more alert. There's no way that he can let a guard under 6 feet get a shot over him without having an impact on it.
Seth Allen with the ball leads all scorers with 11. Ian Miller has 8 now for Florida State, and Allen having a terrific first half.
What a step back. And Monte Brandon is big and he's athletic. And he just created that separation, went right up with it. That was beautiful.
Allen's a sophomore from Woodbridge, Virginia. He was the first recruit to commit to Mark Turgeon at Maryland. Bojanowski. And a full shot clock with 5 minutes to go in the half.
Maryland switched that.
Miller from way beyond the arc, and John Graham watches it go out of bounds.
Seth Allen turns that ball screen down. You got to make him use it. Either make him use it or ice it and put it the other way, but he's got a lot of ball skills. He's got a lot of shake to his game that allows him to get open. He's a point guard, but he's a scoring point guard. He thinks score first, then if they take away the score, then I'll pass it to an open teammate.
And the Seminoles know that. Allen had his career high 32 points against Florida State. On February 8th, there's another 3-ball for Jake Lehman.
Well, Maryland's just toying with them right now. Their offense has gotten so much better. Getting into the lane instead of trying to score initially, then kicking it out, then you can attack. Either shoot, shot fake, put it on the deck, or pass it out.
Maryland is 6 for 12 from 3-point range here in the first half.
How about that hedge by Charles Mitchell? I don't know if he can move like that.
Booker from the free throw line. A swish for Devin Booker.
Under control in that shot fake. A lot of times guys will use a shot fake and they'll get out of balance. The shot fake is to get the defense off balance, not you. That was well done by Devin Booker.
Charles Mitchell air ball, but it's thrown back up and in. On the weak side, John Graham, the transfer from Penn State and the son of Ernie Graham, who was an outstanding player at Maryland back in the late 1970s.
Ernie Graham scored a lot of points in red. He was a terrific scorer. John Graham did a nice job of wedging in on that weak side rebound.
Officials thought it was a high dribble but not a carry. And Monte Brandon missed the shot. They need a timeout on the floor and in the lane, and the timeout is granted to Monte Brandon. Star of this first half has been Seth Allen of Maryland. 13 points, including 3 threes. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis back at the Greensboro Coliseum. Second round action in the ACC tournament. The staple of championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. 61st year of the ACC tournament. The last appearance in this event for Maryland, at least for the foreseeable future. The way teams move around, who knows? You never say never. Maybe they'll be back someday, but it was a big surprise to many when they made the move to the Big Ten by the admission of the administration at Maryland, largely for financial reasons. Some question over on their bench as Carl Hess is over chatting with Mark Turgeon. Maryland red hot right now. They trailed 17-10 with 9 minutes to go in this half. They've hit 4 threes since. Both of the guards are out for a moment. Allen and Wells getting a much deserved breather.
Nice hedge by John Oslander, getting out there and then recovering. Maryland's done a much better job on some of these ball screens. That was a double ball screen. Not so good.
Booker underneath, and it's laid up and in by Joel Hopkins.
We showed that action at the beginning of the game. And it's one thing to get one ball screen with a big body. When you get it staggered like that, you've really got to step up. Otherwise, they're going to get an open jump shot or turn the corner. Really good offense by Florida State.
How about that surprising bucket for Hopkins? He'd scored 3 points all year. Had played in only 10 games prior to today. for a total of 18 minutes, but he's on the score sheet in an ACC tournament game. Foul against Maryland off the missed shot takes us to another timeout as the Pittsburgh Panthers arrive, the number 5 seed. They'll take on Wake Forest after this.
Coming up on the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report, I'll be joined by Jay Williams and Digger Phelps. We'll take a look ahead at Kansas and Oklahoma State. Plus, we get a treat for you. Mark Turgeon, the head coach of Maryland. We'll hear him all wired up, what he has to say to his Terps. We're at halftime right now. Back to you, Sean and Jay.
All right, John, thank you. Coach Turgeon's Terps with a 3-point lead against Florida State in this 8-9 matchup. They were part of a 3-way tie for 7th place with NC State. The tiebreakers were head-to-head. NC State won that, so they were the 7 seed, Maryland the 8, Florida State the 9. Winner will advance to play Virginia, the number 1 seed, outright regular season ACC champions. That'll be in tomorrow's first quarterfinal. Free throw rolls around and in. There's Jason Williford, one of the Virginia assistants. He's going to be a head coach someday very soon. Fine player at Virginia. He was saying it was tough for him to watch the Patriot League championship game last night because he coaches both American and Boston University and has very warm feelings for both of those teams. Congratulations to American on their championship, the only team to punch a ticket last night, and for BU they'll be off to the NIT.
And American played so well defensively, really held Boston U down to, what was it, 36 points?
After they'd scored 91 in the previous couple of games. With a nice year for Joe Jones and the Boston University Terriers.
American runs that Princeton offense, difficult to guard.
Chance to tie or recapture the lead for the Noles. They've led for most of the half. It's out of bounds. Last touch by Nick Faust.
Maryland's done a pretty good job of guarding some of these ball screens. I think they can do a better job. But with an open side, you got to force the man into the screen. If you're allowing a refusal, you're going to give up a layup or a foul.
Brandon missed the layup. I mentioned he's from Greensboro. The Seminoles actually practiced yesterday at his old high school. Mitchell out to Faust for 3 and maybe 4 as he was fouled after the release by Ian Miller.
Well, I thought Seth Allen was going to take that shot. He had a wide open shot off the ball screen, wound up giving it to Mitchell, who had Mikel Ojo right there to block a shot, but a terrific decision for that baseline drive, baseline drift, and not a very good foul there by Ian Miller. You don't see many 4-point plays, and Mitchell very happy with himself for seeing that pass and completing it.
Foul on Miller, his first, and it's a 4-point play for Nick Faust, the junior from Baltimore. Longtime pal of C.J. Fair of Syracuse. They grew up together.
Well, Faust has had some really nice passes in this game. He must have 4 or 5 assists. He's done a really good job.
He has 4. Under a minute to go in the half. And a chance for 3 for Mikel Ojo. At 7 feet 1 inch, 290 pounds from Nigeria.
He hasn't seen 290 pounds in several years. He is big. That is one big man. And that
you think he's more than that?
I do. He's huge.
I arm wrestled him this morning and defeated him pretty easily. Just the free throw. And a couple of Terrapins battle each other for it inadvertently. Then Faust got it back. And out of the scrum, Bookert. Maryland should get the ball back. About a 7-second difference in the game and shot clocks.
Yeah, that was one where Faust should have just pulled it back.
And Bookert rattles home along too. Used the screen to great effect, and Mark Turgeon upset that last sequence. His team just couldn't grab the ball.
Well, they grabbed it, they tried to dribble it. That was the problem. I mean, they just did a poor job there of ball screen defense, wound up costing them a 3. But when Faust stole that ball, just hold it for the last shot. You didn't need to go anywhere. He wound up losing it as a result. It cost him 3 points.
I know you and I are looking forward to watching this 30 for 30. Requiem for the Big East. Explores the rise of the Big East, become what we both agreed for many years was the best college basketball conference in America, but always with the fight for survival. Some of the schools played football, some of them didn't. It was always an interesting mix. 30 for 30, Requiem for the Big East. Presented by Infinity, Sunday night at 9 on ESPN, also live on Watch ESPN. I've already seen, as you have, many of the clips from that, many of the key figures in the history of the Big East, a part of that great documentary on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm still a little tearful about it, honestly, that the Big East is no more. I mean, I think the ACC is going to be great. I mean, I think it's going to be great. It's not going to be great for everyone that was in the Big East. I'm looking forward to the future in this league, but I will really miss what we had with the Big East. It was a great thing.
I agree completely. And now with the additions to this conference, so many years the ACC was regarded as the best basketball conference. The Big East, most people took that away, and you'd have to think the ACC is on the verge of getting that back with the changes. Time for a shot. Lehman, no, it's halftime.
Well, Maryland got a really good shot there, just missed it. Everybody was on Seth Allen, and rightfully so. He had a great first half, John.
He did indeed. 13 points. Maryland made 7 threes in that first half. Their lead is 2. 34-32 over Florida State at the break. Now the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. John Saunders, Jay Williams, and Digger Phelps. Take it away, John.
Sean and Dave, thanks a lot. This is the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report. We'll get back to Sean and Jay after we're done here. But let's start off in the Big Ten. Illinois facing Indiana. Larry Bird, he was a Hoosier once, although not for very long, before he went to Indiana State. Malcolm Hill knocks down a 3 right here. Illinois started the game on a 9-0 run. But guys, Will Sheehy, he's a senior, and he looked good here, Jay.
Will Sheehy, starting to make shots from the perimeter, and they need him to be another offensive threat next to Yogi Ferrell.
Again for a 3 for Sheehy. Sheehy with 11 points. Illinois with a 30-28 lead. John Saunders, Digger Phelps, and Jay Williams. Let's go back and look at the first half of our game. The Maryland Terrapins, they got off to a little bit of a slow start, but their outside shooting, you think, started because of the zone that they threw out?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because for a team like Florida State, Ian Miller is so good offensively, but also Aaron Thomas and Okoro White, another guys that can add offensive fire punch, and they got in foul trouble. And then defensively, they had to go to zone, which allowed Seth Allen to make those 2 threes to start to find that rhythm. And he's been amazing in the first half.
when you look at Allen, the way he finds his shot and makes those shots, you got to say to Florida State, wait a second, you can't leave him open. Even if you're playing zone, you got to cheat to his side, especially when he's shooting threes. On the other side of it, to me, Florida State has got to find a way to be more aggressive, get White more involved, find a way to get Miller more involved, and attack and go after him. And they're controlling the boards, but they're not controlling the points, and that's how they're down to.
You know, 3 years ago, they were the best defensive team in the nation. This year, it's kind of dropped off a little bit, but look for a surge in the second half with Aaron Thomas and those guys be able to play a little bit more aggressive due to not having foul issues.
All right, that's straight ahead. But first, we want to get you up to date. Just looking ahead at the Big 12 tournament is the Kansas Jayhawks without their big man in the middle as they face Oklahoma State and Marcus Smart.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Hampton Hotels. Feel the Hamptonality. And Staples. Thousands of products added online every day, so you can make more happen. Welcome back to the Buffalo Wild Wings halftime report.
John Saunders, Jay Williams, and Digger Phelps. And in the Big East, Jay Wright should be cruising today.
Yeah, right.
Facing Seton Hall. Patrick Auda with a 3. Seton Hall had a 5-point lead. No problem until Jared Cena knocks down a 3 as well. And suddenly, Seton Hall's pulling away.
How about Seton Hall is doing this with Fuquan Edwin having a very bad game, 1 of 10 from the field for only 2 points.
Sterling Gibbs from a mile away knocks it down. And then Patrick Auda one more time. If you thought that Villanova would start to fade, they did not. After the drive, rattles it in. A 34-26 lead at halftime. So look at the bracket as Seton Hall advanced by beating Butler and looking to move on surprisingly to the semifinals. Were you surprised, guys, that DePaul was able to knock off Georgetown?
Very surprised, as you were very surprised, because when you look at DePaul, I didn't think they could do that, but it was a big win, obviously, for them. They got Creighton next. But when you look at Creighton, I just feel that they're the team coming out of that conference that has the depth and has the experience with Doug McDermott to make a move in the NCAA tournament.
Player of the year in the conference and likely in the nation as well. What to watch for, 3 Eastern on ESPN2. Oklahoma State against the #1 seed Kansas. Jayhawks without Joel Embiid, their big man in the middle. And, of course, Wiggins has struggled in the 2 games against Oklahoma State. We'll have to try and get something out of him. Time for our bold predictions brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Time for you guys to get bold. Right now, it's a guard player, big man day.
I'm going with the guards. I'm going to take Oklahoma State in this ball game. These 2 teams split the regular season, both respectively winning at home. But when you think about Phil Forte, Markel Brown, and Marcus Smart in their last game against Texas Tech, Coach, they combined for 52 of the 80 points this team scored. No Michael Cobbins down low, so a lot of their punch offensively comes from the guards. Marcus Smart had 6 steals in the ball game. He's able to get guys involved. Markel Brown, one of the top guards in the country we don't talk about, and then one of the best shooters in the country, and Phil Forte, shooting 45% from the three-point line in the season. The guards need to have a big-time game against Nadir Darby.
Ever since Marcus Smart has come back, in the 6 games he's played, he's been the spark to light the fire for their guard play because he has 117 points, 39 assists, and 28 steals. That's been the MO with their offense and their defense. He's been the spark and the catalyst to get this done. But on the other side of this, Kansas, without Joe Embiid, it's got to come down to Perry Ellis. He's got to have a big double-double because he is the one guy that can dominate inside. He's a great rebounder. He can keep the ball alive, find the open people. Coming down in transition, yeah, he knows how to get in a way, make an assist steal, and at the same time get on the glass because you're going to need second chance points. Maybe Wiggins got 41 in that loss to West Virginia. But Wiggins has got to get some glass today because if they can help on the boards and can control the boards, then they can neutralize those guards. But it's going to be a battle. I favor the guards of Oklahoma State.
And that's big because West Virginia out-rebounded them last game.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I call bold predictions. And you can tell us your bold predictions as well by tweeting that at ESPNCBB, hashtag bold predictions. Sounds pretty easy. Maybe you'll end up next to Digger Phelps and Jay Williams as well. Right now, the Maryland Terrapins boldly going where they hoped to have gone before, leading 34-32.
This halftime report is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, the official hangout for NCAA March Madness. This halftime report is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, the official hangout for NCAA March Madness.
Presto changeover. Ian Miller, 8 points in the first half for Florida State as they are chasing the Maryland Terrapins. What might Mark Turgeon say at halftime? Well, here's an example of practice.
We got a lot to do. Let's get out. These cameras are here for the ACC. Some of you guys have already done some stuff with them. You didn't need that dribble, right? We were screening that guy. You just got to catch it just like you did over there to Jake and swing it to him. So he's catching it in rhythm. Just run the stuff, guys. We all try to make great plays. It's amazing if we just let it work how easy it is for us. There he is! Hold up. There he is, right there. It's wide open. You got to see it. I can't help you if you can't see that. You wide open? Yeah, ball! John, way to sprint into it.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by T-Mobile and Chevrolet. Find new roads. Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods.
Welcome back to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. The ACC on ESPN. Second round action of this ACC tournament from the Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. Maryland a 2-point lead over Florida State at the half. Sean McDonough and Jay Billis. Jay, they're the 8 and 9 seeds. We thought coming in they're two pretty evenly matched teams, and that's really the way it looked in the first half as well.
It is, although for Florida State to have Okara White only play 9 minutes, and the same thing with Aaron Thomas, he played 10. They had more fouls than they had points. They're going to have to do more in this second half, but for Maryland, Seth Allen, as we expected, was the leader for the Terrapins, coming off the ball screen
Aaron Thomas gets picked off. Boris Bojanowski has to switch off and then recover. You give him a little bit of space. And Seth Allen's going to pull up with that sweet left-handed jumper in the zone. That was just a catch-and-shoot opportunity. 13 points getting out in transition. And for Florida State, they've had some success using ball screens. Mikel Ojo sets a gigantic screen here. They look like they're trying to ice it or down it to the side. And Charles Mitchell doesn't get up there, and he's made to pay for it. Ian Miller got off to a good start. He had 6 points. But this is a guy, Aaron Thomas, he's got to stay on the floor, as does Okara White. Okara White did not have a single point in that first half. They tried to post him up, but he didn't get anything in the first half.
Yeah, took 3 shots, missed them all. Maryland ball to begin the second half. Here's Seth Allen out there with Nick Faust, Charles Mitchell, Des Wells, who played only 10 minutes in the first half due to foul trouble.
If they can go at both Okara White and Aaron Thomas, try to get them a third foul. Good looking shot by Seth Allen.
Again, and it's a 5-point lead. It's 4-3. Well, he's halfway to that 32-point career high he had against the Seminoles back on February 8th. And as Aaron Thomas turned the corner, he was fouled. A lot of fouls called in that first half by this crew. Seth Allen called for his second.
Just a mistake defensively by Aaron Thomas. He tried to shoot the gap, took a risk, tried to get out in the passing lane, take the ball the other way. And Seth Allen with a really nice shot fake to get him off balance on his recovery. But I would think that Florida State is really going to try to tack off the dribble.
And they get Okara White going. Jake Lehman grabbed him before the shot.
Leonard Hamilton tried to get the ball inside to Okara White to start the game. They posted him up. They actually posted up Thomas a couple times too when he had Seth Allen on him. Thomas has had some opportunities to drive it. I think he's got to continue to do that.
2 fouls on Jake Lehman. We're going to see foul trouble on both sides the way this game has been played and officiated. White, and another whistle as he made a strong move along the baseline. I think Leonard Hamilton was thinking, as you were, Jay, at the half, they need to get Okara White going. He's been one of their best players, particularly down the stretch.
Well, Leonard Hamilton moved him back from the 3 to the 4 spot. You know, they were bringing guys off the bench, trying to get different rotations, and they've decided they got to play their best players more minutes. And they worry about wearing down a little bit toward the end of games. But they're going to win more games having guys like Okara White and Aaron Thomas on the floor for 35-plus minutes.
Well, he's on the score sheet. John Graham in for Lehman, who picked up 2 fouls there in succession and now has 3. And that's a big loss. Lehman's their 3rd leading scorer. He gives them 5 rebounds a game.
He can be back in pretty quickly. In the second half, I don't think you're quite as worried about a 3rd foul. You want to take him out so he doesn't pick up a 4th right away. You got to be able to play with at least 3. What a steal.
And the dunk by Aaron Thomas, the sophomore from Cincinnati, who played up at Brewster Academy in New England, was a teammate of T.J. Warren. They must have had a pretty good team there. T.J. Warren, the ACC Player of the Year for NC State.
T.J. Warren can make a variety of shots. There's really not a shot he doesn't have.
Des Wells powered his way to the bucket, and he'll shoot 2.
This is just an example of Aaron Thomas being alert. You can see him right there. He's just going to jump out in the passing lane, get a finger on it, and take it the other way. And that's turning defense into offense and getting something easy. Talk about easy baskets. That easy basket was made because of a lot of hard work on the other end by Aaron Thomas. Just an outstanding individual defender, and I think the best perimeter defender for Florida State.
Mikel Ojo committed his first foul for the Noles. Des Wells made the free throw.
You know, it's funny, Sean, you think about different defensive players, and there are a lot of really good defensive players in this league. Akeel Mitchell won at Virginia, but I actually think that Thomas is a better defender than Okara White, who made the ACC all-defensive team. I guess that's good news for Florida State. You got a lot of good defenders to choose among.
Thomas survived a little bump from Allen to score.
You can see he's been much more aggressive, putting the ball on the deck and taking it to the basket.
Maryland lost it after moving into the lane. Oh, Miller behind the back pass. Wow. And Leonard Hamilton all over Ian Miller.
Well, it looked good at the beginning.
Didn't end well.
That's one of those plays where you're glad you're a senior.
We talked, Jay, in the first half about the transition of this league with the 3 newcomers from the Big East off the leg of Mitchell and out of bounds. And Louisville will join the league next year when Maryland and Mark Turgeon head to the Big Ten. And it was really interesting. The perception of this league for so many years was really Duke, North Carolina, occasionally somebody else. Well, the last 2 years in this league, even without the Big East additions, the tournament champions have been this Florida State team 2 years ago, Miami last year. And if neither Duke nor North Carolina win the ACC tournament this year, it'll be the first time since the early 70s that neither won a piece of the regular season title or the ACC tournament in consecutive seasons, all the way back to 73-74 the last time that happened.
Really amazing how those two programs have dominated play at the top of the league and their high-level consistency. I don't know what Aaron Thomas was thinking there, trying to get it to Ojo.
And there's some bad turnovers, and Wells had it ripped down. The Maryland bench in an uproar. They thought it was a goaltend, and at the other end, they hit the quick hitter with Aaron Thomas to take the lead.
That did look like a goaltend.
Maryland timeout. It was on the way down. I wonder if the officials just thought the shot was going to be well short of the rim. Looked like it might be from here.
Nope. That's a goaltend. When Des Wells drives to the basket, Okaro White with his head on the rim. Maybe the officials thought that was headed to hit the backboard, was still on the way up, whether it was a goaltend or not. Impressive play by Okaro White on the ACC all-defensive team. And that's a good reason why. Talk about protecting the rim.
Florida State has recaptured the lead. 40-39. Aaron Thomas, their leading scorer. See White 2 away from 100 block shots in his career. Aaron Thomas had just 3 points at the half for Florida State. He has scored 6 in the second half. Wells tough catch in traffic, and then he lost his balance as he tried to catch it. Oh, Thomas looked like he wanted to wind up and throw it down, and went out of bounds off Florida State.
Also looked like he got fouled, but took the ball hard to the basket in transition. Nope, it was all ball. That was really well called. I thought it looked like a foul, but Mark Turgeon called a great play, a backdoor play, and had a wide open Des Wells. And Shaq Clear just didn't hit him. The pass was way late, wound up being a turnover. It just shows you can diagram the best play on the planet, but you got to execute it.
Roddy Peters could not finish. Pulled off the floor by Michael Ojo.
The length of Florida State is really bothering Maryland. But Maryland's got to make quicker moves to the basket. That was a slow move and deliberate by Roddy Peters. And he wound up making a mistake as a result of it.
Double dribble by Ojo. Well, an elimination game in all reality with an eye toward the NCAA tournament for the loser of this game. A lot of emotion on display today on both sides. We're back inside the Greensboro Coliseum, site of the ACC tournament. Second round action, Florida State leading Maryland by 1 point early in the second half. We go inside the play.
When Des Wells takes this ball to the basket, the blocked shot by Florida State. Watch, everybody from Maryland is inside the lane with the exception of Seth Allen, and Aaron Thomas just takes off. You talk about a couple of steps and getting out in transition. That was a 4-point swing, 2 points that Maryland could have had, and then 2 points that Florida State created in transition. You know, that was a good shot that Maryland got, but when everybody went to the offensive glass, they were out of defensive balance. And a quick outlet to Ian Miller, who passed ahead and got an easy layup for Aaron Thomas. That was really well done by Florida State.
Des Wells, Jake Lehman back on the court with 3 fouls, misses his first shot upon re-entering.
Maryland's had to get everything from the perimeter. He's got very little inside because of the length and shot blocking ability of Florida State.
Florida State's rebounded Maryland by 9. Okara White inside. And a 3-point lead for Florida State. Their largest lead was 7 in the first half. Maryland's biggest margin 6. As Wells fouled on his way to the bucket.
After Boris Bojanowski throws the ball back out, that's just a terrific duck in inside. And Shaquille Clear needed to play on the line, up the line, just a little slow in getting there. He's trying to really go over and give help to Jake Lehman, who's guarding Bojanowski. But that allowed a Carl White to just get into the middle of the lane and duck in hard and get an easy one.
Bojanowski called for the Florida State foul, his first and the second on the team in the second half. Seth Allen returns from Maryland.
You know, Sean, that duck in by Carl White, so many times you think about post play and you think about making a move and Elijah dream shake or Kevin McHale on post. Oftentimes it's just getting position. If you post deep enough where you don't have to make a post move, that's what the best post guys do, and they supplement that with their post moves when they catch the ball just off the block. 1-3-1 half-court trap right now by Maryland, trying to switch it up. The ball moving much better in this second half for Florida State than it did in the first.
A bad pass by Miller. Lehman running the court. He got bumped by Miller and will shoot a pair.
It's almost like the players can hear you're praising the ball movement, and then they move it right. He threw it right at Charles Mitchell, just about hit him in the head. You still get a deflection when he throws it right in your head, don't you?
Yeah,
that's got to count.
Some guys you might have an easier time throwing it past than Charles Mitchell. 6'8" and generously listed at 260 pounds.
Yeah, that scale must be screaming.
We asked Mark Turgeon earlier the year. He said Charles been working to get his weight down. Right now he's 265. We said, really? He said, okay, maybe not quite at 265 yet, but he's working his way down there.
Well, he's done a good job. I mean, Charles Mitchell's had some really good games. An excellent offensive rebounder, and I think he's done a better job of getting up and down the floor, getting out to guard ball screens. He's getting there. He's going to be a good player in this league, and has had some really good moments this year.
Lehman 1 out of 2 from the line.
1-2-1-1, full court pressure. Florida State has been a little bit loose with the ball at times.
Maryland bringing pressure, almost a turnover. They turn it over on the pass by Booker. Wells throws it down. And that brings the Maryland fans back to life. A little energy out of this press. 13 turnovers committed by Florida State. And then a Maryland foul as the Noles advanced into the front court.
Just getting a little bit too aggressive, and just we were talking about Florida State being loose with the ball. They are really loose with the ball. Wind up throwing it away, and Des Wells, that's the kind of finisher he can be. And that gets his team. Sometimes in a game, you get a dunk like this, it energizes your team, but then Nick Faust comes down and fouls on the next possession.
Lots of contact. I'm not sure I can decipher the call. Are they going to count the basket? Yes, they are. And then the foul against Florida State.
That was a generous charge call, because not only was the defender not square, he was falling. Oh, they did.
Didn't it seem like he was indicating that
he
was
called
a charge?
the charge, and everybody lined up on the free throw line because it was a block. I think all the players knew it.
You almost never see it anymore where they count the basket and then charge the offensive player with the foul, but that's what they did. The foul on Monte Brandon.
Well, the basket shouldn't have counted because it wasn't released before the contact, but it should have counted because it was a block. So it was kind of unfair to both teams.
It's odd when there are several levels of messing up a call.
You know, that charge block call is such a hard call, but it's not as hard this year as it was last year, because you know, most everything in that situation is going to be a block, but especially when the guy's not square, he's leaning away from it. I mean, Des Wells was nowhere near being in proper position.
Wow, these two teams just turning it over with regularity, and Aaron Thomas puts Florida State up by 3. We've seen a lot of those types of shots of both coaches, just so perplexed, not just by the turnovers, but the sloppy nature of them. Unthinking. And another offensive foul called by Carl Hess.
And that was just as bad as the call before. This has been all see your turnover
and I'll raise you. And then I'll see your bad charge call raise you. Well, Aaron Thomas showing why he is considered among the best perimeter defenders in this league and really in the country. He can guard multiple positions. But I think both coaches are looking at their players going, would a pass fake kill you? Pass fake, let the guy shoot the gap, and then complete the play.
They leave Thomas open. That's a big mistake, particularly in this half. On fire against Mark Turgeon's Terrapins. And he's perplexed at how they could leave the leading scorer on the other team that wide open. Aaron Thomas, a 3-point field goal. He has 11 points here in the second half. (49-43). Florida State has the lead. The Noles on the bubble. Just joining us, Joe Lenardi has them in the first 4 out of the NCAA tournament field right now. And not only would a win today help, but Jay would get the winner of this game the opportunity to get a big resume builder against Virginia tomorrow.
Yeah, it might be an elimination game for Florida State, but it also gives them another opportunity to solidify the chance to get into the NCAA tournament. I mean, you win this game and then beat Virginia, then I think Florida State would be in the tournament.
Wells the miss. Okaro White the rebound. And things starting to tilt in the direction of the Florida State Seminoles. They were down by 2 at the half. White's been much more involved here in the second half. It was tapped out by Bojanowski. And a full shot clock for FSU.
And Florida State has done a good job on the glass. They haven't allowed a whole lot of second shots, but they've kept the ball alive. They just haven't been able to capitalize. I think they had 8 offensive rebounds in the first half, but only 2 points off those offensive boards.
Bojanowski passed up about a 10-footer and wound up getting fouled as he moved into the lane. DeMonte Dodd called for his first foul for Maryland. 3 more games here today. Wake Forest and Pittsburgh coming up next. The night session has Miami against the Wolfpack of NC State and the conference leading scorer TJ Warren. Georgia Tech survived overtime to beat Boston College last night. They'll take on Clemson, the number 6 seed.
Carl White wide open inside, and Thomas thought better of throwing him the ball. He's got Des Wells trying to keep him out of that post position.
That 3 spins out for Thomas. Maryland in a drought. It's a 7-0 run for Florida State. Lehman with the left. And it's yanked away by Bojanowski, and the Florida State Seminoles run 4 on 3. Boy, Mark Turgeon, Scott Spinelli talked about you need to get back. The most important thing is the transition back to play defense, and that was a brutal performance in that regard there.
Well, in large part because their offense wasn't good. That was a weak move by Jake Lehman, and he is not a weak player. He's a good player. But when you go to the basket, you got to go with some strength. No official is going to give you a foul call when you don't go strong to the hoop.
Allen.
Now that was on the way up because it's going to hit the bottom of the rim. It must be nice to be able to you block a shot. He just grabs it.
As Wells knocked it away from White as he tried to charge right down the middle of the lane. Maryland's been stuck on 43 points. And they're still stuck. A couple of bounces on the rim, but the 3 wouldn't fall for Jake Lehman. 11 minutes to go. Florida State with an 8-point lead, trying to take a big step toward inclusion in the field of 68. Maryland scoreless for 3.5 minutes.
held ball. And the arrow will keep it with Florida State after immediate timeout.
All right, guys, John Saunders back in the studio. Villanova trailing throughout against Seton Hall. The throw to the big man inside, Javon Pinkston, who's from Brooklyn, playing in Madison Square Garden here, knocks it down, and that's a 5-point contest where it stands right now. SMU, meanwhile, Larry Brown and crew with a lead over Houston at 6 in the American. Back to Sean and Jay.
All right, John, thank you. Selection Sundays this Sunday, ESPN's coverage of the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament begins on Sunday with a special Sports Center at 5:30, and then at 7 it's bracketology, all the latest news and analysis as our panel of experts break down the field of 68. Selection Sunday, Sports Center at 5:30, bracketology at 7. Both shows are also live on Watch ESPN. Maryland 2 for 9 with 6 turnovers in the second half. Their halftime 2-point lead is gone. They're down by 8. And Okaro White wound up in the hands of Bojanowski. Charles Mitchell's hurt. He contested the first try by White. And it looks like he might have had a finger knocked out of place.
Okaro White made a nice tip of that ball to Bojanowski. Got his shot blocked, but was alert enough to tip it.
Ooh, boy, is he in pain, huh?
Nick, I got it.
This goes up. They went for the ball. A good tip of that ball. That looks like where it happened. Went right into his hand. Boy, that was an alert play by Okaro White.
Wonder if he dislocated his thumb or did some damage to his thumb when that ball basically got powered through his thumb or perhaps even his little finger.
Yeah, it looked like it was that side of his hand, but it's hard to really tell from the replay exactly. That looked like what he was holding, and clearly he's in a lot of pain. And with Evan Smotrich out, the rotation has been much different for Maryland than it normally would be. And now with Charles Mitchell out, you're having play some guys that haven't played a lot.
just joined us. Evan Smotrich, key player for Maryland, hasn't played at all. He's been bothered in the last few days by back spasms. They were hoping he could play. Smotrich gives him 11 points, 6 rebounds a game. He made 54 threes during the regular season. 10-point lead for Florida State. Their largest of the game. They're on an 11-0 run.
Really, the guy that changed the game in the second half is Aaron Thomas. He's not in there right now.
Wells driving. Devin Booker thought he tied up the ball, but instead there's a Florida State foul called on Booker, his 3rd.
Thomas has 11 points in this second half, 5 of 8. He's about to come back into the ball game after this first free throw. Couple of steals in the second half, 3 for the game.
He's outscored Maryland by himself in the second half, 11-10 now, with the bucket by the free throw by Des Wells.
His activity level is just so high. You know, he's active as a defender, gets out in transition. In the second half, he's looked to drive the ball more often. Coming off a little brush screen, getting downhill, getting to the basket, putting Maryland in a position to foul.
Those free throws, the first points for the Terrapins in 4 minutes and 22 seconds. They bring the pressure again. It's worked well for them, but they haven't been able to set it up since they couldn't score.
Well, one thing that Maryland's got to do, they've got to play good defense without fouling. Well, the next foul, Maryland's going to be putting Florida State at the free throw line on every common foul.
Down to 5 to shoot. Ian Miller from about 6 feet beyond the line knocks home another 3.
Allen and Peters switched off, putting Allen on Ian Miller. He just rose right up, just a little bit of daylight, and he's able to get that shot off.
Strong drive to the bucket by Roddy Peters.
He took advantage of Ian Miller. Miller just turned his head looking for that screen. As soon as he did, Peters turned it down.
Pressure pays off again. Jake Lehman scores. They're going to try to keep the pressure on. This time the Noles get through it. And then Monte Brandon turned it back to Miller. Under 9 minutes to go. And a timeout called by Leonard Hamilton.
Ian Miller has an uncanny ability to be able to get a shot up. And a little ball screen, there's a switch. And as soon as he got that switch, saw a little bit of daylight against a smaller defender, looks down and then pulls up, and he holds that follow through. It's like a home run hitter who stands at the plate and watches it go out of the park.
You know, he's one of those guys who sometimes you feel like he keeps both teams in the game.
He can, that's right.
What we just saw, a terrific three-point shooter. The occasional turnover would make you cringe a little bit. But as we look now at the final 9 minutes of this game, what do you think are the things that are ultimately going to decide it?
Well, I think for Maryland, that's got to be their defense. They've got to make some things happen defensively and clean up a defensive possession with a rebound. And they've not rebounded as well as they need to in this ballgame. And I think they've got to be a little bit more patient on the offensive end. You know, they're going to get some good shots if they move the ball, and they did that in the first half. Now, Carl White didn't play as many minutes in the first half as he did in the second, and he's been an impact player. He's blocked a couple shots in the second half, and he wasn't there in the first. But Florida State's turnovers are what's keeping Maryland really in the ballgame, because Maryland has not executed very well on the offensive end. A little 1-3-1 right now for Maryland. Really, Florida State with their size. Seth Allen is along the back line. Throw it up.
Ojanowski's had one of his best days as a Seminole. Foul on Peters. The shot wouldn't fall. Second foul on Peters. It'll send Monte Brandon to the line.
Peters just a freshman, and he's maturing as a player. He's learning. But when you get a really good athlete driving to the basket, just a simple little reach in, isn't going to do anything except get you a foul. It's not going to stop anybody that's good.
Brandon misses the first. Mentioned he's from right down the street. Nice story about him in the local paper today. Touching story in the News and Record. Wears that number 32 in honor of one of his childhood buddies. Josh Level, who died at age 17 from a heart problem. And that used to be Josh's number when they played together as kids growing up. So Monte Brandon switched to it this season at Florida State.
He's had some good games against Maryland. Had 13 and 8. Good pass. Got to finish this.
And Shaq clear dead. It's a 6-point game, and Mark Turgeon will keep the press on for Maryland as we approach 8 minutes to go.
1-2-1-1. They passed it a little bit deeper to get it out of the trap, but still turned it over.
Well, the turnover's a killer right now for the Noles, and then Peters fouled by Okara White. Well, you would think with as many guards as Florida State has that they'd be a better ball handling team.
Yeah, and some of their guards are bigger. And Aaron Thomas is a really good guard. He's not a great ball handler. And he's proven that by trying to handle it against pressure. And that's why Maryland doesn't want to foul. You put pressure on, you try to get it out of the hands of the primary handlers of Florida State and give them the opportunity to turn it over before you foul.
And from 11 down only moments ago to within 4. Mitchell back on the bench. Our Janine Edwards tells us he dislocated 2 fingers on that hand. As you can see, they have it taped up over there. They handle the press. Miller couldn't make an open 3. Wells pushes it back for the Terps. Down by 4. And he lost it out of bounds. Mark Turgeon clapping enthusiastically. That's okay, he says. They're right back in it with 7:50 to go.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's, Mazda, and the Mazda 6. And Subway. Hurry to Subway for this month's featured values. Subway, eat fresh.
Back in Greensboro, time to take a look at some ACC tournament headlines. Miami, the defending champions, moved along yesterday with a tough win over Virginia Tech after they lost to the Hokies twice during the regular season. Wake Forest won its first ACC tournament game since 2007 as they handled Notre Dame. Virginia swings into action as the #1 seed tomorrow in the quarterfinals. First time they've been the top seed since '81. They lost in the semis that year to Maryland. Syracuse yet to play an ACC tournament game. They'll get into action tomorrow as the #2 seed, although they're already in town. Jim Boeheim's team left Syracuse a little bit earlier than expected to get out, shockingly ahead of a little snow in central New York.
A little snow? Would they have
He was
10 or 11 inches?
Foot of snow.
Foot of snow?
Which is, you know, a dusting when you live near the Harvard of Central New York, Syracuse University.
Just a typical spring day in Syracuse.
Pittsburgh about to make its ACC tournament debut. They'll play in the next game here right after this one. They'll take on Wake Forest. Momentum on the side of Maryland. Jake Lehman, that is a goaltend. This time, no doubt about it, Boris Bojanovsky. And it's a 2-point game.
Another well-run play by Maryland that you thought might go awry when Jake Lehman just about turned it over, but he stuck with it, got it back, and Bojanowski wiped it off the backboard for goaltend.
10-1 run for Maryland after they had gone down by 11. They're within 2. The two teams have exchanged runs. It was a 14-2 FSU run that gave them that 11-point advantage.
A mismatch inside of Carl White being guarded by Seth Allen.
Couldn't find a passing lane to get it in there. Then Wells called for the foul as Miller passed off. Third foul on Wells.
See, Wells playing really hard, but you can't foul that. That's where you've got a guy that's driving basically toward his own bench. Angle him out and make him take a tough shot. You foul him, all of a sudden you stop the game, stop momentum, and let them get 2 points without having to really do anything.
1-1 on the 8th team foul against Maryland, and Ian Miller made the first. Miller's one of the best free throw shooters in the league, 3rd in the ACC at 86%.
Thomas trying to put some full court pressure on Seth Allen, and with his length and athleticism, he can really bother Allen.
Seth Allen, the freshman Peters. Deep 3 for Allen. In and out, tapped out by Shaq Clear. Wide open Peters. And that's last touch by Monte Brandon of Florida State. So good work on the offensive glass by Shaquille Clear, seeing more minutes than usual with Mitchell on the bench with those injured fingers.
Really active, moved his feet. I'm not sure that Jake Lehman should have passed up that 3 when he got the ball to Roddy Peters. I think he should have taken that.
Yeah, he's a better three-point shooter than Peters. He doesn't pass up this 3, a little bit short. And Aaron Thomas the rebound.
Lehman was fading away a little bit on that one. And he's a guy that can be a primary scorer for Maryland. I think he's got to be more aggressive looking for it. Good pass.
And Carl White couldn't finish.
And he got great position down low on Jake Lehman, just locked him down. Ball was a little bit late getting there. But that's one that a Carl White has to finish.
Wells, Lehman, another open 3, another one that's short. Tries to run down his own rebound. Roger Ayers looking for help from Carl Hess, and they say it is Maryland ball with a full shot clock and with 6:09 to go in regulation time.
That's 2 in a row that Lehman has been short on. That one he went straight up and down, had plenty of time to set his feet. What Florida State's got to be careful of with him while you're putting pressure on him, if you have to close out to Jake Lehman, he doesn't hit you with a shot fake.
Allen passed up for the first opportunity. Bojanowski the rebound.
That's a tough shot.
Career high for Bojanowski, 11 rebounds for the sophomore. First game he's ever had double digits in rebounds. Thomas used that free arm for the swim move, and Carl Hess saw it and called it.
That's a good call, and it was unnecessary. He didn't need it to get past the defender. He already did. He was coming right out, getting downhill, and he was already past Shaquille Clear. Really no reason to do that. Didn't help him any, just got him an offensive foul call and a good call.
You're saying he was clear?
He was clear of Clear.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how much he expected to move Shaquille Clear using that left arm. It's a tough man to move.
Is there anybody like tiny named Shaq?
That's a good question. Not that I'm aware of. I don't know that many people named Shaq.
I'm aware of 2, and both of them are big.
This Shaquille is 6'9", 265 pounds. To mention, he's from the Bahamas. Only started playing basketball when he's 15 years old, so still a work in progress, as the coaches like to say. Oh boy. Lehman telegraphed the pass. Bojanowski run down by Clear in a heavy collision. Well, hopefully the cheerleaders and photographers are okay. Because those are some very large men who went crashing to the floor.
Well, just a really poor pass by Jake Lehman. You got a guy 7'3" shooting the gap to take the ball the other way. And that by definition is a bad pass. And Shaquille Clear just trying to keep Bojanowski from getting the easy basket, make him earn it at the free throw line. Nothing dirty about that, just a hard foul.
Well, they are looking at it to make sure that they agree with you. Fortunately, Bojanowski just didn't crash into anybody, but Clear, wow. That could have been a disaster for somebody sitting on the floor. It's amazing that these basketball courts, tournaments, how many people they let sit basically right on the baseline.
Not to mention our brave camera pros that are right there.
They looked at it, decided it was just a common foul. And as a result, Bojanowski will shoot 2. 67% free throw shooter. First free throw of the day. He's from Slovakia. Missed the first. He went to Oakley College, which is in the Canary Islands. It's an accredited institution in the United States and the United Kingdom. Couple of misses, and Jake Lehman brings it back for Maryland, nearing 5 minutes to go. Critical game for both teams. The loser almost certainly eliminated from any chance of making the NCAA tournament. Florida State right on the bubble. Maryland has a lot of work to do here in Greensboro. Wells' shot popped out, and Shaquille Clear couldn't hang on. He was last to touch.
But Clear is really battling. And not sure that was the best possible shot that Wells could have gotten.
It looked like it was last off the leg of Clear, even though he tried to bank it off one of the Florida State players. So Seminoles ball, 4-point lead, and 4:45 to go in this second round game at the ACC tournament.
Carl White has an advantage on Lehman here. Instead of ball screen, double ball screen, he should post.
Just inside the free throw line, nothing but net for Ian Miller. Having his healthiest season as a senior, and as a result having his best year. That's the first field goal in more than 5 minutes for Florida State. Their lead back to 6. Faust on the court now for Maryland. Blocking foul called. As Allen tried to drive. And Aaron Thomas called for the foul, and that's his 4th.
Ian Miller coming off that double ball screen. Nobody steps up, and he calmly was able to rise up for that mid-range jumper. And Aaron Thomas, he's such a good defender, but that wasn't a smart foul. He give him credit for working how he's working his tail off, but there's no reason to foul out there on the perimeter like that.
Well, he's on the bench, probably won't be there for long. It's just 4:13 to go. Media timeout under 4 minutes, so perhaps they'll put him back in after that. Allen made the front end of a 1-and-1. Both teams are in the bonus.
Maryland going to stick with this 1-2-2. They've gone, 1-2-1-1. They've gone back into man out of it. But it gives them an opportunity to get maybe a quick trap, get the ball out of the hands of a primary handler, and give a non-handler the opportunity to turn it over.
Florida State not a good ball handling team as we've seen today. Many more turnovers than assists this season. 17 turnovers today. Miller scores. Strong drive and the finish to put the lead back to 6 for Florida State.
Just attacking off those ball screens. And that puts the Maryland big guys in a tough position. And they have not defended it very well in the second half.
Mark Turgeon a timeout. He has just 1 left to use.
See, just a Double ball screen. And Shaq Clear steps up. Jake Lehman not up there. Winds up fouling. Put himself in a position to foul. Didn't foul. But they were a little bit late. The first guy steps in a little bit late getting there. And Lehman should have picked him up a lot earlier than that.
17 points for Ian Miller after that bucket. He has scored the last 6 Knowles points. Wake Forest Demon Deacons trying to get loose in the hallway off their win yesterday over Notre Dame, their first win in the ACC tournament since 2007. They'll try to win a second round game against the number 5 seed, the Pittsburgh Panthers, who will be making their ACC tournament debut. Ian Miller might have a cramp. So 3:40 to go. Ian Miller still trying to limp it off. That would be a big loss. 6-point lead for Florida State. Maryland's ball out of the timeout. Mark Turgeon sends Seth Allen, Jake Lehman, Bez Wells, Shaq Clear, and Nick Faust onto the court. Played the entire game without Evan Smotrich. And right now they're starting big man Charles Mitchell off the floor with 2 dislocated fingers. Wells, nice move. Bojanowski, another goaltend. Of course, when you're 7-3, everything looks like it's still on the way up. Now the media timeout with 3:27 to go. Another good one at the ACC tournament in Greensboro.
All right, guys, Seton Hall has hung in this game and played tough. You can see up by 1, but Arcidiacono forces a steal, and then on the break there's Hilliard knocking it down. They also come back with another play. You see again Ryan Arcidiacono with his reach in, and Digger, this one's not getting away.
No, Villanova had the down 12 and come back and tied at 44, and ever since that time, Seton Hall's been playing nervous.
Jay Will, this is a Seton Hall team that surprised everybody just by beating Butler, I think. But right now, taking Villanova to the bucket.
Eugene Teague having a great game. Fuquan Edwin having a horrible game, but it comes down to the last possession.
Villanova has been at the top of the Big East all season. #1 seed, trying to avoid from getting knocked out. John and Jay.
And the big surprise there last night with Georgetown's bubble burst by DePaul. Ian Miller and Aaron Thomas, 31 points. The rest of the Florida State team, 32. Thomas still on the bench with the 4 fouls. 3:17 to go. Miller.
Thomas and Miller have scored a lot. They've also turned the ball over. They've combined for 9 turnovers, 6 of them by Thomas.
They have 17, now 18 as a team as Booker turned it over. Maryland down by 4. Maryland still down by 4. Jake Lehman missed another open 3. They're 1 for 8 from beyond the arc in this half after they were 7 for 15 in the first half. The 3-point ball has gone away for the Terps.
Another steal.
And then taken back. It wound up in the hands of Booker. The shot clock did not reset. So 17 seconds to shoot for the Noles. Bojanowski from the elbow.
Jake Lehman has been short on his last 3 3-point attempts.
Wells fouled by Bojanowski. Second foul on Boris.
It's really amazing that Maryland has hung into this game. There's the foul right there on the arm. Bojanowski just needs to go straight up. You don't have to take the ball right out of the hands of the shooter. Just make it difficult.
Des Wells, a 2-shot foul. Each team with 9 team fouls in the half. Been a zillion fouls called in this game. It has been a physical game. And now Aaron Thomas back in for Florida State with 4 fouls, 2.5 minutes to go.
Right now Maryland probably going to stick with that 1-2-1-1 to give Florida State an opportunity. No, they're dropping back. They're going to play half-court man-to-man now.
A 2-point game. Ian Miller with Aaron Thomas, Monte Brandon, Boris Bojanowski, Okara White. Huge possession for Florida State, sitting firmly on the NCAA tournament bubble right now.
Carl White has been awfully quiet, but I think Florida State's got to get something going to the basket, not just settle for a jumper.
Nice move by Brandon, couldn't finish, and it's last touch by Mitchell, who's back in the game with those 2 dislocated fingers. 6 seconds remaining on the shot clock for the Seminoles. Devin Booker comes in for Monte Brandon. Whoa, confusion. Miller inbounded it to nobody. White had to shoot it with the shot clock running. Faust has Lehman with him, and Wells. Lehman the dunk, and it's a tie game.
What a play by Des Wells. And then Faust with the look-away pass, and Lehman hadn't been able to get a jump shot to go. He made sure he got that one to go.
That was high percentage. 6 unanswered points for Maryland. Tie game, under a minute and a half to go. Nice cut by Thomas, lost it out of bounds.
Thomas just tried to go up before he made the catch. But Des Wells not only went after that ball, went off his foot, and then ran the court to give an option to Nick Faust. And Faust has had a lot of good passes. He's had several turnovers. He had 7 turnovers in the game. That look away, it was the easy and the right pass. Not sure he needed to go with the look away. But what a great finish.
19 Florida State turnovers. Chance for the lead for Maryland. Wells powered to the goal and missed the layup.
Still attacking the basket, the right thing to do. They drew Bojanowski away from the basket on the ball screen action. He turned it down. And I think Florida State is now the team that needs to get to the rim.
Their largest lead was 11. Miller underneath. Bojanowski missed a shorty, but it's there for the dunk. Apparently a foul on the Bojanowski shot. So no basket on the dunk by Brandon. And Bojanowski's going to go to the line to try to give them the lead.
This double ball screen has been killing Maryland. Charles Mitchell, the guy who was guarding the first screener, steps out. And nobody steps up on the back end of that.
Bojanowski, after an 0 for 2 on his only trip to the line in this game, and that was just moments ago, made it. You saw Lehman hit him in the head. 4 fouls on Jake Lehman. Cool customer, Boris Bojanowski. 2-point lead for the Noles.
By far Bojanowski's best game, and it's coming a big one.
His first career double-double, in fact. Timeout, Maryland. They can take it almost all the way to the final buzzer. 0.8 of a second, the difference between the game and the shot clocks. And as they discuss the important strategy, we'll send you quickly to John Saunders.
Well, thanks a lot, Sean. It may be the new Big East, but just the same excitement. Seton Hall down by 2. Cena from outside knocks down a 3, and so Jay Willett comes down to Villanova.
And Darren Hilliard gets the basketball right here. You talk about moxie. This is a big-time move off the spin. Finds a way to finish at the rim with the floater, Coach.
You see that with just about 8 seconds left, so Seton Hall, one last chance. Is it going to be disappointing? Sterling Gibbs!
Oh, my gosh.
Sterling Gibbs with the shot at the buzzer. And then it's just off to the races for Seton Hall as they knock off the #1 seed and third-ranked Villanova. 64-43 is the final. And Digger, this is what makes championship week so exciting, but just the same, Villanova, if they had any look at a 1 seed, is gone now.
It's gone now, and this is what's crazy about this whole madness of this weekend. There's still no #1 seed yet. When we're looking for 4, we only got 3.
I've looked at the rules. Somebody has to be a #1 seed. Sean and Jay?
Well, that would certainly seem to be the case there. It's so much of what's fun, Jay, about championship week. You have this game, the fans of these two teams very interested in it, but a lot of the fans of the bubble teams are hoping Florida State loses right now because that'll take them off the bubble, make it easier for their school perhaps to get into the tournament. Fans of schools that are hoping they're going to get #1 seed, delighted Villanova just lost. If Maryland's going to pull this one out here in the final 30 seconds, what do they look for in this possession?
Well, I think they want to try to get something going toward the basket and then to kick it out and set down. They've run some screen for the screener action. They've gotten some things. They've run a couple backdoor looks. And that might be something you see here. But I don't think you want to just settle for a jump shot. Ooh. Well defended by Brandon.
Yeah, Allen looked like he was about to pass it to Wells, and he wisely kept it because it would have been picked off. Now he finds Wells. They double Wells. Oh, a little hand check foul called by Carl Hess.
Boy, they just don't. Monte Brandon put himself in a position to foul there. And got that arm bar and just reaches in. I mean, that was a clear foul. There's no reason to reach in there. I mean, he hits him on the arm. You got to call that. Why do you reach in there?
Second foul, 10th team foul, so 2 for Wells to tie it. Des Wells, 81%.
And you have to expect, they may not do it, but you have to expect that Maryland's going to put on that 3/4 court pressure to slow the advance.
Maryland's out of timeouts. The arrow's in their favor. Leonard Hamilton has 2 if he wants to use one here and set up a chance to win it in the final 15 seconds. John Graham comes in for Allen. Get a little more size on the defensive end.
If I were Leonard Hamilton, I'd run that double ball screen action.
He sends Devin Bookert in. Then takes Monte Brandon out. 15 seconds. Florida State on the bubble in desperate need of a win. They're gone with an eye toward the NCAA tournament almost certainly if they don't win this game.
So it's a single ball screen.
Miller into traffic. Underneath for the dunk by Bojanowski with 4:10 to go. Wells from 3/4 court. No.
What a pass by Okara White. And Ian Miller didn't get what he wanted initially off that ball screen, but did not panic.
And Maryland's 61-year history in the ACC ends in excruciating fashion. They lose on a dunk with 4/10 of a second to go by Boris Bojanowski, who had an enormous game. 12 points and 12 rebounds. First career double-double. The rebound total a career high. The point total 3 shy of his career best. And Florida State gets a win it absolutely had to have. Leonard Hamilton said last night when we asked about the NCAA tournament, I know we can't lose to Maryland, and they did not.
Bojanowski sets the screen, rolls to the basket, A double team on Okaro White. He passed right out of it. Did not panic at all. Little roll, replace action. And what a terrific, smart play and alert play by Boris Bojanowski, but a great pass by Okaro White, who had a really difficult first half when he got in foul trouble.
First assist of the game for Okaro White. It came at the best possible time. For the first time in 4 years, Maryland fails to win at least one game at the ACC tournament. Their time in this conference in basketball is done. On to the Big Ten for the Terrapins next year. And on to the quarterfinals for the Florida State Seminoles in this ACC championship. They'll get the #1 seed, Virginia. You'd have to think with a win over that team, they would officially punch their ticket.
I don't think there's any question about it, Sean. If they beat Virginia, I think Florida State's in.
They got one they had to have. Wake Forest and Pittsburgh coming up next in about 20 minutes. We'll be back with that one very shortly. Great way to start the day in Greensboro. Florida State a winner, 67-65 over Maryland. Let's send you back now to College Basketball Live Scoreboard. We'll be back shortly with Wake and Pitt. So long for now.